Imagine you're a soldier in Napoleon's army. It's 1812, and you're marching through the snow towards Moscow. You fight shoulder to shoulder with your comrades, muskets cracking and cannons roaring. The enemy is close, so close you can see the whites of their eyes. A century later, you're in the trenches of World War I. The battlefield has changed. The enemy isn't just the soldier across no man's land. It's the machine. Bullets and artillery shells rain down like hail, and gas clouds roll in, choking the air. You're part of a war driven by factories and steel. Now it's the present day. You're sitting thousands of miles from the battlefield, piloting a drone. The enemy is a pixel on your screen, reduced to coordinates and algorithms. You can destroy a target with the press of a button, but you'll never hear the screams or smell the smoke. War has always been a human experience, shaped by courage, fear, and sacrifice. But as technology evolves, so does the very nature of war. Today we'll explore how three philosophers, Clausewitz, Junger, and Ellul, help us to understand this shifting relationship between humans, war, and technology. Karl von Clausewitz, a 19th century Prussian general, famously called war the continuation of politics by other means. For Clausewitz, war was a deeply human activity, a contest of wills between nations, directed by political leaders and carried out by soldiers on the battlefield. Clausewitz understood war as fundamentally about people. The passions of the soldiers, the unpredictability of the battlefield, and the rational objectives of political leaders all worked together in what he called the paradoxical trinity. Technology was part of war even in his day: cannons, muskets, and cavalry. But it was always subordinate to human decisions. But by the 20th century, war began to look very different. Ernst Junger, a German soldier and writer, experienced this transformation firsthand during World War I. In his memoir, Storm of Steel, Junger described war as a clash of machines, where the individual soldier became a small part of a vast industrialized system. Junger called this total mobilization. Entire societies harnessed their factories, resources, and people for the war effort. Soldiers weren't just fighting the enemy. They were up against the impersonal force of mechanization. War had become a technological juggernaut. For Junger, this new kind of war was both terrifying and sublime. He saw the machine age as stripping away old ideas of heroism while also confronting soldiers with a brutal existential clarity. But even Junger couldn't have imagined what war would look like a century later. Jacques Ellul, a 20th century French philosopher, warned that technology would eventually dominate human decision-making. In his view, once a new technology is invented, it develops a momentum of its own, independent of human action. Nowhere is this clearer than in modern warfare. Ellul argued that modern war is no longer primarily about human will or courage. Instead, it's driven by the logic of efficiency. Drones, guided by algorithms and artificial intelligence, allow nations to wage war from thousands of miles away. Operators know directly. They see only pixels on a screen. Ellul would ask us to reflect. If the soldier is removed from the battlefield, what happens to the moral responsibility of war? And as technology advances, how much control do humans really have over the systems they create? Ellul's warnings are especially relevant in the nuclear age. Today, hypersonic missiles, capable of evading defense systems and delivering nuclear warheads in minutes, loom over every conflict. They make the stakes of war unimaginably high. Clausewitz said war is the continuation of politics by other means. But when weapons of this scale are involved, can politics really control war? Or has the logic of technology taken over completely? Even when these weapons aren't used, they shape every decision on the battlefield. They force nations to act cautiously or recklessly, in ways that Clausewitz and Junger could never have imagined. Clausewitz taught us that war is deeply human. Junger showed us how technology changes the soldier's experience. And Ellul warned that technology could take on a life of its own. Together, these thinkers challenge us to reflect on the nature of war in our time. War is changing, but does that mean we have to surrender control? Understanding these ideas is the first step in shaping a future where humanity, not machines, decides the fate of war and peace. These questions aren't just for philosophers or generals. They're for all of us.